First one up is just two MRs, and the only reason I put them here is I think the first one, Andre and Pedro, is on your plate to review, and just so we can get that merged, or if there's contention, I think otherwise Michelle's already looked at it, and then we can get that moving. The second one is mostly for Pedro, although I think it's helpful to the rest of the group. We're trying to build out, and it's still called, I think, the ownership model stuff, but it might like be more loosely like cross-stage features and just sort of a different way of thinking about them. But we're trying to build out how other groups can work with code review to contribute features into code review. So if you have thoughts on the second one, feel free to drop them in. The goal is that like, groups who want to add a widget to the merge request, we sort of have like a process for what that looks like and how much product or our engineering or our design needs to be involved or sort of pay attention to those things versus other features that might be more complicated where we're not informed or we're not well consulted, that we just want to be ahead of. And so we're just trying to build out a way to think about that. So if you have thoughts on that one, feel free to add them there while we continue to build that one out.
Thanks, Guy.
Yeah, thank you, Guy, for pushing for these. Yeah, on the first one, the exploration experimentation, do you anticipate any pushback from leadership or any comments on moving, not completely losing focus, but not being so focused on shipping and throughput?
In reference to the first one,
Yes.
No, I think my understanding, and Michelle and Pedro can correct, or Michelle and Andre can correct, is engineers are sort of benchmarked to do X number of MRs per milestone. And it actually doesn't say like what those MRs have to be or that they're designed to be deliverable work. I think it does say like engineering is technically responsible for delivering planned work. But as a group, I think if we all decide that this is the planned work we care about, and this is other work, engineers will still hit their MR goal. It just might not be in what product and design or wants to focus on. The goal is that we want our engineers to go and explore and try things and come up with something new in an effort to like make the product better. So I don't think so. It's not a concern that I have. I feel like this group, we're in a better spot in our planning, and we've dialed it back to like what we think we can achieve. And this will take a small fraction of that off the top just to give this extra space. And I think engineers will still have sort of all of the space they need. But yeah, I think that's really a question for Andre and Michelle.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if anything, we do have an OKR around the say-do ratio. You want to keep that at a certain level. But the 10% exploration work doesn't mean that it's not scheduled. They can reserve it, but we can still make those explorations the deliverable. Like we have the spike around IndexedDB, this milestone is kind of like what those 10% would cover naturally. And I do think in the end, the explorations of the engineers will result in a better delivery of product features. So I think we're all in the same boat, all in the same direction. And I don't anticipate leadership, either product or engineering, to even resent any of this because it's all for the same goal. We're just giving more autonomy to ICs to go out and explore and go out and experiment. So the biggest question right now that I still haven't gone through that MR, and I apologize for the delay, is exactly, should we formalize that in, do they just do it and just let us know later? Do we somehow prepare a pile of work for them to work on? do we agree upon the explorations that they should take, that sort of thing. But that comes naturally, organically on the team anyway. So maybe we can let it loose. But I'll sit down and take a read and update the MR. But yeah, sounds good.
It says in the MR that we won't pick the work. It gives suggestions if people don't know what to work on, like things that we would naturally care about, like the list of like pre-filtered searches of labels and other things.
But they're free to.
But they are free to sort of do what they want in there.
Yeah,
which we can change, do whatever we want.
But they're so invested in the products, like the tackling of technical debt in any way, that it will naturally go around what we already want to work on anyway. So I think it's a non-issue. Yeah, I agree. Michelle, anything to add?
Nope, you both said it.
Sweet, thanks. Okay, so can I move on to my next one? Point. All right. A couple of weeks ago, we talked about iteration retrospectives that were lying around unfinished. Thanks, Pedro, for that push. We set the deadline for this one for March 26. This is one of those cases that we have been operating under the learnings already, but for the sake of completion and wrapping it all up, I did capture a little bit the thoughts that were shared on that retrospective about the highlighting of collapsed files. It was already dissected on the iteration retrospective with Sid, but I captured here the learnings and the conclusions that we're kind of extracting from that exploration. It's a bit thin in terms of collaboration, but I do think we as a team already discussed this on multiple forums, but I try to make a capture like that, those learnings. If I missed anything, please feel free to just fill it in post closing. But yeah, just sharing those conclusions there. Any questions there? No iteration retrospective? We'll have more of these coming, so I'll keep sharing.
Yeah, I'm glad that you did this. That's the comment that I'll make, because I have the reviewers one open and I will do the same. I'm gonna put it on my list right now.
Yeah, and I think it's like capturing I think we already captured a lot of the learnings from the reviewers, but capturing them in comments will be worthwhile for the future. So yeah, thanks, Michelle. I will also ping my ICs to take a look at the reviewers for the last stretch. Okay.
Yeah, I'll just wrap it up. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you, Andre. This was very helpful, and thank you for sharing these conclusions. I agree. I think it was mostly just the lack of more preparation, perhaps, and then early involvement that could avoid these surprises. And even if there's nothing actionable for us to take from this, like, I don't know, update something in the handbook or change something today, I think just the fact that we did this and the whole team is sharing the same story, and they have heard each person's perspectives on what happened and what each side was seeing as a good thing and a bad thing. I think that's already worth it, because it keeps the team closer together and stronger. So I appreciated that. At least that's my feeling for me. I don't know if Thomas is on the call. I don't think he's
not today.
But yeah.
Yeah, he shared his views there, so we're good. Thanks, Pedro. Moving on, just an FYI so that everybody's aware. We've already shipped the code review process update for dogfooding reviewers. Thanks so much, Michelle. Amazing help and collaboration. Now is the time to see this come into fruition. I've already caught a couple of MRs that are not following the new process, and I've kind of like gently nudged them and corrected the assignees and reviewers. I'm experimenting to see the people's reaction to it. I think it's going well. From what I've heard, they all welcome a more consistent approach, but there's going to be people that misuse it or haven't heard about it. So I think we can all help out in broadcasting even further. I'll keep posting reminders on Slack every now and again. Cool.
Yeah, I'll just say amazing. I think it's awesome to see it there. And a huge thanks to David, I think, for starting it and getting the ball rolling on that. I think he did an incredible job and
he was the spark.
Gracefully tried to handle all of the overwhelming feedback. But I appreciate Andre and Michelle, you stepping in to get it across the line. I think it was a great team effort, and I'm excited to see it there, despite the early challenges. I think it's great.
Yeah, thanks, Kai. I definitely appreciate David taking the first step. That helped us make this across the line. So thanks, David, if you're watching. All right, mid-milestone check-in very quickly. Sorry, I didn't align these things, but it looks like we're not on track, even though with the current assigned issues, scheduled issues, the ones that have been moved already because of the database work has already been moved out, I believe. So with the current plan, it looks like we're okay. We're at 45% progress. We do have a couple of spikes on progress, not only the one that Thomas is exploring about IndexedDB. And for clarity, what we're trying to do is having a more aggressive client-side caching for immediate data loading instead of coming to the server to get the data from the diffs if they have been unchanged since the last visit. We have some theories, some challenges about cache invalidation, security as well, but Thomas is exploring that. Phil is taking care of some explorations and fixes for the total blocking time that is plaguing the large merge request experience. And he's doing some uncovering that will materialize themselves into issues for the future. But I think that might delay us a little bit. But so far, it looks like we're okay. Michelle.
Yeah, I thought we had only been in the milestone for 1 week, but whew.
I can totally understand that, and I commend you for all your efforts. You've been amazing. The whole company owes a tremendous debt to you, so thanks.
Oh, very dramatic, but I appreciate it. So I forgot that it was the mid-milestone. I could give you an update, but it'll probably be wrong. So I think yesterday I did drop 4 issues from the release. I'm keeping the planning issue as the single source of truth. But I don't think that math really added up, because I think we added like 9 or 10 database issues and we only dropped 4. The reason is because there was so much work already in flight with the workflow labels that I didn't want to drop it. And so I'm talking to people throughout the week. Yesterday, I talked about this waiting for filter and touch base with David on that. So the team will be updating their labels, and I'm going to start dropping more stuff. Here's the good news, though. We have 4 database issues left still that need to be started, and 1 other issue that is very, very bad. It's a P1, and Gary's been on it for a while, and all 5 of those issues are like the same root cause. So if we can figure out maybe like a thing that we can do to bring all 5 of those issues down this week, then we can create a follow-up to make that more scalable in the future, but we can close all 5. I don't know if that will happen, but that is an option that we have right now. So all this to say, my update is not going to be accurate, but I'm going to keep that planning issue updated. Questions on that? I'm open. I'll give you any answers that you all need. Any questions?
No, I just echo Andres. Thank you. I've seen all the updates in the planning issue and all the other work, and I know this was a wrench thrown into the plans. I've actually appreciated the break. Sort of, it felt like not a lot was going on, so I was able to look into and do some other things while the DB work was going on. So it's felt like it's been covered so well that I don't even worry, and it's been a nice stress reliever for me. I'm sure it's not feeling that way on your side, but thanks for me for that.
Thank you. Also, I'm super optimistic about this. It seems like really bad news, but I think we'll be fine. And so I'm really optimistic about this being a wrap-up week. We have a huge epic, but the other groups have picked up our issues. And so, yeah, I'm feeling good.
And great things will come out of this too for the future, from what I can see. I already see some movements, Gary discussing some things on architecture perspective. So looking forward to see that too. Cool. So moving on, a bit of announcement. So in efforts to make people more collaborative, seen, synchronizing defeat the barrier of remote and time zones. The front-end team is experimenting with something next week, or starting an experiment next week. This comes from the engagement survey that we're trying to get a bigger sense of a team. But I'll be putting a slot on the calendar of code review that will be making me and my team available for just anything, really. It's optional attendance, but the idea is that I'll be doing backlog refinement there. It's just going through issues. ICs can join me in that to help planning more synchronous, tough issues. We'll use it for more informal discussion as well, hanging out, just be seen a little bit. I don't know about the time zones, if that works. It's just an experiment. I just wanted to let you know you're all welcome to stop by and say hi. It's in the calendar. I hope that I added a Zoom link. So let me know if it's not there, but you're all welcome. Okay. Cool. And with that, Pedro.
Yeah, thanks for that initiative. I hope it goes well. Yesterday, I was talking with Austin, the product designer for compliance, and he has an office hours for UX, and now he's turned that into an async thing. So I'm keeping an eye for these office hours initiatives to see if it's something valuable for me and for our group. So let us know how it goes and how you use that time and if it's helpful. But thank you for experimenting.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, an FYI about the external survey. So we closed it. There are more, this is like a preliminary view of this survey. There are more comments that I made on yesterday's UX sync that you can see in the agenda below. But to build really quickly, we got a lot of responses, more than we were hoping for. So that's great. The top problem is the same that was identified in the internal survey, dealing with large merge requests. And furthermore, that was reinforced, or at least the performance theme was reinforced in the open text responses. So I think we're making the right call in shifting some gears and prioritizing that work. Not everything is bad. We had a lot of praises for multi-line comments, marking as viewed, suggestions, and reviewers. There were even, although I didn't write here, there were a couple of people that actually praised the performance and said, like, this is really fast. I love the way it's not slow at all. They're the minority, so I didn't highlight them here, but it did happen. And yeah, so we had a lot of praises. It was good that we had praises for the reviewers and that people are finding it valuable as well in their own teams. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Any questions or comments?
No, this is great. Thanks for highlighting these things. And the performance, as we know, it's an ongoing battle. Some things get better, but that is code review in a nutshell. Our audience is so great and so large and so widespread that we have polarizing experiences everywhere we touch. So that's part of the game, and that's why we love it. Thanks.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and then I added another point just now that I remembered is something that I've been thinking about more is we had a discussion in that issue about the shared key results for code review for the next quarter, so that all the quad product group, product management, engineering, UX, and quality would align on certain key results. But yeah, I'm thinking if we should have performance as a key result, anything like, targets to beat, so to speak. Is there anything that you think we could set as a reasonable yet ambitious goal?
I would actually say that performance has been part of key results for front end, at least, and I think back end too. I think what we're dealing with right now is that some kinds of MRs are faster while others are slower. And I think we as a group need to start drilling down more on the large MRs, as we've seen from the usability, from the feedback, new Hacker News and all that stuff. So I think that's a prime example for a shared OKR, because there's tooling improvements that we can do on the quality side. There's security as well, I guess. But I feel like this is great. So definitely goes in line with what we were thinking.
Michelle, do you want to add anything to that?
No, just what I wrote here. We definitely include quality, but I will say I didn't know you added a comment. You said to double down on performance optimizations. Last week, Michelle suggested reduce load time on large MRs by a percentage. Totally agree with that. Let's circle back to this thread async and see if we can come up with a percent. And maybe it's arbitrary, but that's something for us to like rally behind.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure what it would be. I defer that to you. But I also don't, yeah, this is not, this is like an open question, because I also don't want to put too much pressure on everyone, because we already have other key results and there are other things that we're doing. But since it's a recurring theme, and yeah, we all know that we need to do better work on performance. If we could have something, it would be good. But yeah, let's continue the conversation there. All right. Well, that's all I had. Amy, I think we still have a few minutes.
So, video camera is being a pain today. Yeah, I'm taking Friday, Monday. Something about if you work a lot of overtime, Craig glares at you and says that you're going to go away for a couple of days. So I'm doing that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, from the comments and from myself, I'll also be away on Friday. I think it's a public holiday in many countries around the globe. So yeah.
Yeah, we're all just jumping onto this chain, and I do also want to mention several engineers will be out as well. So see y'all next week, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Anything else? No?
Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your week and rest of your day. Enjoy the time off.
You too. Bye.